Welcome back to Society Case Files. My name is Robert, and today I'm going to talk about Arc Raiders. If you like this kind of content and you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, and maybe consider becoming a member of the channel so you can get access to all kinds of great stuff that's coming here over the next few weeks. Anyway, let's dive right in. Arc Raiders is a game that it seemed was highly anticipated by a lot of people, and this video is not necessarily for the folks that were already sold. I was not one of the people who was like, "Oh, I've got to get in on that right away," and that's mostly on me, and I'll explain. But I know a lot of people got to try the server slam, and in general were just really excited about a game that was like this, something that was probably not quite as ridiculously hardcore as Escape from Tarkov, but had the same flair. You still got PvP, you've still got PvE, you've got loot, you got all of the pretty much core ingredients of the Tarkov game, but now they've wrapped it in a package that is far more forgiving and really does give you the opportunity to, all around, I'd just say, have more fun. Somebody on a reel did say that this is Tarkov for employed people, and I can't really argue that. I mean, it does have a sense that there is just something more cozy about it. It's not quite as ridiculous when it comes to the currency, and the deaths in it aren't as harsh as I anticipated them to be. So when I first started playing it, the only thing I really had to compare it to was Tarkov, and I finally decided to try it because some friends did. Now, I have footage with friends, but I didn't think that they would necessarily want their name in a video, so I'm not using any of the footage with them. So I have tried it with a squad of 3. I've tried it with a partner, and I've played quite a few matches just by myself. I've got to say that I went from being like, oh my goodness, I'm a Care Bear, this isn't going to be any fun, to absolutely addicted. And I'm going to say that the folks who were really excited about it and had high hopes, I now agree with them. I totally get where they were coming from. The people who played the server slam, I understand where their excitement came from as well. It's actually really, really, really cool. There are some things that at first glance kind of made me go, I'm not sure about that. But the more I thought about it and the more I played the game, the more I understood the design decisions. Particularly that comes from the player versus player stuff. The time to kill it's not quick. You don't go down fast. You do have your shields. Well, if you're playing the game correctly, you've got shields. You've got quite a bit of health, and it doesn't end you super quick. Even when I got attacked by a ton of robots, it still took a moment for them to bring me down. I almost escaped. You'll see some of that in here, in this footage. But when you're fighting other players, they don't just bust you down super quick. Now in Tarkov, you could be walking down the street and boom, you're done. The time to kill on that was super quick. In this, people do have to shoot you quite a few times. And early on in the game, the guns aren't exactly badass enough to finish you in any sort of real expedient manner. Let's put it that way. Especially if you are attempting to escape. I was doing a mission. I was standing up on the roof of something, and a guy took a couple shots at me, and I still managed to finish what I was trying to do and then escape the conflict because I didn't exactly want to engage him when he already had the beat on me. So I tried to figure out a way to deal with him, and then I just left, and he got bored too. In some cases, you'll hear people say that folks are super nice, and that quite often they're just like, hey, don't shoot, let's just hang out or go our separate ways. Now I'm going to say that I haven't really seen much of that. I've only done 20, 25 runs at this point. But in that time, I've seen some pretty messed up stuff. I mean, it's not insane, but like, for example, there were 2 people at an elevator with me, and they had put their guns away. Everybody seemed like they were going to be super amiable. I was like, okay, that's cool. And the elevator opens. I go inside. I start initiating the departure. And then one of the 2 guys just pulled his gun out and took out the other dude. Just I don't know what happened. I don't know if they had a vendetta. I have no clue, but he wiped him out and then got on the elevator and left with me. It was very strange. I don't know what happened there. I have seen some streams and stuff where people are cool. It just hasn't happened to me per se. Now, one of the things that has made this absolutely accessible, in my opinion, is the fact that you can do the free loadout. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say you should go and do any of the early maps without just doing free loadout. I mean, you can do whatever you want, of course, because this stuff isn't that hard to get. And that's another thing about the game is that initially, when I first started, I was really concerned about resources. Like, oh my goodness, am I just going to burn through all of my best weapons and stuff? Well, quite frankly, I didn't have any quote unquote best weapons at the beginning. So I could easily take them and run around. And if I died, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because I'd be able to recover whatever it was, either through money or through crafting very, very easily. It's not that punishing, to be honest. But if you want to be extra cautious like I was, you can do the free loadout and you get decent enough equipment. And if you die, it's all stuff that you didn't have anyway. So if you lose it, it's not really that big of a deal. And you can try stuff. You could just check out the different weapons. It'll give you the single shot weapon. It'll give you the Rattler that I have on screen right now. It'll give you all kinds of crazy stuff. It's pretty cool. So I think that's a way to play the game without having to feel like you are putting out a lot of risk. You could go out there and just test things out, see what it's like, and just, basically have fun. There's no, oh my goodness, I'm going to lose my level 3 Rattler. That'll suck. You don't have to worry about that. Now, the robots can be kind of tough to kill with the early weapons. I'm not going to lie. They do have weak points. I was not as familiar with where they were, so it can be a problem to try and target them, especially when you're panicking or getting blasted by them. It does leave you in a place where you're like, well, yeah, great. But when you do calm down and you do have some good nerves, you can actually take a good moment and blast off like thrusters and that sort of thing. And I think that's pretty cool. Now, people who have played the Server Slam and all that probably have a little bit more toughness under fire than I do, and they might not have any of these problems. But if you are on the fence about the game, then you really don't need to be. If you had any passing interest in Arc Raiders, then I would say you should just try it. I will mention that once I started playing, I burned through the 2-hour window of returning it to Steam very quickly, because you just become caught up in a lot of different little things. So it's not just about going out to the surface and running around and grabbing loot and fighting robots and stuff. There's a whole bunch of things to do back at base as well. You can build a bunch of crafting stations. You've got a ton of different vendors that offer quests. There's plenty of customization options, some of which are very similar to what Helldivers did, where you can basically open up a different set of things to buy, and then as you get through them, you can move on to the next set of those things to purchase more, whether they're colors for your outfits or charms for your backpack, that kind of thing. So there is quite a bit to do, and it's fairly deep for the most part. And those crafting stations I mentioned actually level up as well. There are some really nice to have things in that stuff. Like, for example, you can craft these keys that allow you to go into a tunnel that is a quicker way to leave the map. So you don't have to necessarily go to the elevator and risk your life fighting other players and robots. You could just use this key and hop down the hole and you're done. Those cost money if you don't want to craft them, but if you do, you can actually make them pretty easily. Once you get that level 2 crafting station, which I haven't done because there are some parts that were a little bit difficult to get in the early game. Once you do, it doesn't seem like the stuff you need for the key itself is that bad. But even if you don't get to that point, you could just buy them for 9,000 of the in-game currency, which is quite frankly not very difficult to get either. They make it very convenient. When you get back to base, you can just go into your inventory. You can right-click an item. You can either sell it or recycle it right there. It's very, very easy and convenient. They don't have a whole lot of systems that are back and forth and make you do, make your character move to a crafting station. And I've got to be honest, I really do appreciate the fact that it's more of a click on a place to go and do things rather than walk around a base. I mean, maybe other people don't like that as much, but to be honest, it is still a lot like Tarkov in that way. So there is a lot of blueprint from that in here. And all around, I think, it's all around more convenient. And I think in a game like this, the point isn't to be running around in your base. The point is to be running around doing this stuff that you see on the screen. So when you are doing the admin things, recycling your goods, managing your stuff, that sort of thing, you want it to be quick. You want to be able to get right back into the action. You don't want to waste, 20 minutes trying to remember, well, where was the crafting booth or whatever, because they made some really cool 3D place for you to run around in. That's not really the point. And in that regard, I really do applaud their decision. So all around, though, I have to say, I hope that this has come out as suggesting that I really loved Arc Raiders, because I did. And I kind of hope that if you have any inkling to try this game at all, you will. Because they've even done a pricing model that makes it very attractive to give it a try. You can spend $40 for the base game. You don't have to go for the full $60 one. That's considered their deluxe edition with a bunch of extra cosmetic stuff for the most part and some Raider tokens. You can upgrade to that later if you want to. But I mean, if you are just wanting to see what the game's like and see if you actually are going to enjoy it, then this is a great way to do it. And I think they kind of knew it. I don't know. Honestly, it's funny because to me, Arc Raiders is actually worth $60, whereas the other game that I just played, Bloodlines 2, was not. Bloodlines 2 should have been $40 or less, and instead they're reversed. I think there's a lot more content here. Well, obviously there's a lot more content. I mean, it's a PvP VE game. There's choose your own adventure practically, but it's just interesting that they chose that model, and it's good for everybody because you can get in here and not have put yourself out by a whole lot. It's not one of those, oh, look at that, you just spent $90. And on top of that, since you only have a 2-hour window with Steam to refund a game, even if you miss it and you only spent $40, it's not going to be as painful as some of those, more hardcore games. And I'd argue that there are some that it would be very difficult to know whether or not you're going to really enjoy it unless you spend more than 2 hours. For example, I was having a lot of fun with Battlefield 6 right off the bat, and I could probably see getting annoyed with it in enough time to decide to call it quits in 2 hours, maybe. But I didn't really start to enjoy the nuances of the maps until I'd played for more than 2 hours. And that really came from the fact that there's just so much to see and so much to learn. You just couldn't do it in a short period of time. And I would also say that this game, Arc Raiders, is in the same boat. You can't really get what you need out of it in a couple of hours. I mean, you could probably understand the very basics of, wow, I just don't like how it moves. I don't like how my character looks, or things like that. Or I hated the Division 2, because this game does have a lot of DNA with that as well. If those things come up, sure, you're out early, and that'll be good. But there's so many cool systems and things to see. I imagine that you would have more fun if you gave it a chance and pushed past the 2 hours. I'm not sure what's going to happen with the PvP. Are they going to change it a bunch? Is there a bunch of balancing stuff that's going to happen like in most games? Is it going to become harder or easier? Are people going to calm down and not grief? I mean, these are questions that I can't answer, but they are things to consider that it will probably evolve and change as well. So if it's not what you like right this second, it might be something you like later, but it could go the opposite way as well. And you could end up with a game that is more frustrating. That happened with Dune Awakening with me. The combat changed significantly for a short time, and it was kind of painful for a melee character to survive even in PvE. That might happen. You don't know. It's hard to say, but I don't know. They put out such a great game here. I kind of feel like they know what they're doing and that this game is going to stay awesome regardless. So Anyway, have you played Arc Raiders? Do you have passing interest? Is it something you're going to try? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to check out some of the membership options and see if you could contribute. That'd be great. Make it easier for me to make more videos. Anyway, this is Robert with Society Case Files, signing off.